Okay, good vach. We're in the we're doing a sugya of malika of psul. So if a zar or does it like, or if a zar does it, or actually the Mishnah had said a small, a claim with the left hand, or at night. We said the malika is puzzle, but it would have the effect that it would be mitar midei nevela. In other words, it would not be mitama tumis nevela. Usually an oif tahar, when it's in your throat, it's mitama. Over here, the malika would go ahead like a shchita is mitama midei nevela. So too would a a left-handed malika, and a night malika. What about a zor malika? What about a non-kain does the malika? That we had machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav said it would be mitama, and Rabbi Yochanan was the opinion that it would not be mitama. Okay, we brought a brisa as a raya. Let's pick it up over there. Samich Tes Amid Aleph. Tanya Kavasi Rabbi Yochanan, Malka Zor, if a Zor did Malika, or Malka Psul, right? If someone was puzzled did the Malika, Hapigel Vanois Vatame, or a kosher bird that became pigel. They had the machshava pigel during the Kohen had machshava during the Malika of pigel. Vanoisa was left out. Vamatame, or it became tame. Mitama Beis. So openly it says that a zor would not be mitama Beis. So it's a raya brura to Reb Yochanan. Just an interesting havamin. If you look at the top Rashi, hanoisavat tame, v'lo yamina nafkaluhu meheta achilas kotchim, v'chalai isin nevela mafreya. In other words, it's by the way kasha. How could you entertain that nicer and tame would be mitama Beis Abliya, fellas? L'chayr, once upon a time they were kashra karbanis. Nicer was kosher, became nicer. Tame was kosher, became tame. So once it was at that point in time, it was a kosher carbon. How could you entertain the thought that what now it would become tame, tama? So Rashi says you might think that what that since you have a change of status, you might think that what that chala isn't available mafreya. Kamash malon that not. Kamash malon that's not. So that's where we were up to. Rabbi Yitzchak, Shamati Shtayim. I heard two dinim. Achas Kemitza Zor, V'achas Malika Zor. Now remember, Shchita is kosher bizar. Kemitza is the equivalent of a Shchita, and Malika is the equivalent of Shchita. So we already learned out that Malika has to be Ayidei Kayin, and Kemitza L'chayra also has to be Ayidei Kayin. So I learned one of them, Achas Tered, one of these, that if you bring it up in the Mizbeach, it comes down. V'achas loy tered, and one of them, if you bring it up in the Mizbeach, it does not come down. V'lo yadana, and I don't know which one. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, I have a halacha. One halacha is stating that it stays up. One the halacha says it stays down, regarding the Kemitza of Azar or the Malika of Azar, and I don't know which one. Okay, so I'll give you the end of the book, fellas. It's the Kemitza, okay? Kemitza is going to come down. We just have to figure out to derive why, okay? So it's going to be the one that's Kemitza that's going to come down, and we'll have to derive why. So Amar Chizkiya, Mistaber Kemitza Tered, Mistaber that the Kemitza of Azar will come down, and Malika Loy Sered. Maishna Malika, why would it stay up? The Yeshna Bibama. In other words, there's no koyin by Bama, and the Mela we find in the realm of Malika that if a Zor did Malika of Oila Sa'oif or Chata Sa'oif by a Bama, right? And it would, so therefore it makes sense to say that it has a certain Kedusha, and the Mela, if he did it when the Beis HaMikdash was standing, it would stay up. In other words, it's a good svara, guys, right? Look, by Bama, the Malika of Azar is okay. So I would say it's okay by the Migdash to the extent, if it goes up, it stays up. Fred the Gemara, Kemitza Nami Yeshna Bebama. 1 second. Kemitza also there's Bebama. And again, there's no Kohen by a Bama. So therefore, there's no Maila of Malika over Kemitza. In both cases, you have no Raya, one over the other. V'chitema, you might go ahead and entertain. Ein Mincha Bebama, so there's no Kemitza Bebama. But there would be Malika Bebama. It's not true. Because if you hold that, Ein Oifis Nami Bebama. In other words, it's Hava Hatalya. If you got Mincha, you got Malika. And if you got Malika, you got Mincha. Dam Rav Sheshes, the Divya Omer, Yesh Mincha Bebama, Yesh Oifis Bebama. The one who says there's din a mincha b'bama, there's din oifis b'bama. L'dibri oime a mincha, a oifis, my timer, zvachim v'loy menachas. So we'll say zvachim by bamis, right? And we have a gears inside. V'zavchu zivchei shlamim, v'zvachim, that makes the guys. You see the nusach on the side. It says, v'zavchu zivchei shlamim, that's psukim. Now we'll darshin. Zvachim v'loy oilois, zvachim v'loy menachas. Zvachim is a blood carbon. Oifis is an oif carbon, and mincha is a flour carbon. So once you're going to make that drasha, you can't go ahead, fellas, and separate mincha from malika. They're both the same. The mincha kamitza and malika are the same. They're both in the same ballpark. So if they were both bibama, there's no mila of one over the other. And if one wasn't by the bama, the other one wasn't by the bama. So why at this point do we say that the kamitza would come down and the malik would stay up? There is no svara whatsoever to say that. Guys, good? There is no svara whatsoever to say that. Says the Gemara, Ela ema in kiddush b'kli shares b'mincha b'bama. Even if there's a mincha b'bama, fellas, right? You don't have kedusha of a kli shares. Even if there's a mincha b'bama, you don't have what? The kedusha of a kli shares. Mashenki by the Beis Hamikdash, you have the kedusha of a kli shares, and if a zor would do it, it would nem from us, it would take away from that, and memela, it would calm down. Mashenki b'malika, you don't have that. So therefore, the svara is that since there's no, you can't learn out from bama. You can't learn out if they both exist by bama. There's still a chesaron of despite the fact that there's a mincha by bama, there was no kli shares by bama. Mashenki Malika was the same by Bama as it was in the Beis Hamikdash. Guys, you hear? Malika, whether it's by the Bama or the Beis Hamikdash, is the same. The Mincha is different. Since the Mincha by Bama, there's no Kli Sharis, you can't learn that you can't learn it to the Beis Hamikdash. Memela, the din, if a Zor did Malika and a Zor did Kamitza, which would come down? The Kamitza would come down and the Malika would stay up. The Malika would come down and the Kamitza would stay up. Okay, the next Gemara, this stuff I found this stuff very, very difficult, fellas. Found it very, very difficult. Okay, now the Mishnah had said, let's go back to the Mishnah, that you did Malika with the left hand, you did Malika with the left hand, you did it Balayla. Now, here's what we need. Shachat chulin b'fnim, v'kotchim b'chutz. So I'm doing the Mishnah. You shechted chulin inside. So this is speaking about a bird, fellas. So you did two things wrong here. You shechted it, and B, it's chulin inside. Kotchim bachutz, you did two things wrong. It's kotchim outside, and you did shchit instead of malika. Good, guys? Fellas, malika kotchim inside, shchita chulin outside. Those are the variables. When it comes to bifnim, it's malika, not shchita. When it comes to outside, it's shchita, not malika. And again, the variable is the animal, is whether it's kodesh or chayil. So if you do chayil inside, that's one problem. B, you shechted, that's a separate problem. Or you do shchita outside. These are birds. You do shchita outside, so now you have two problems. You did shchita and it's outside. It's not going to be Tama Beis Habliya. It's not going to be Tama Beis Habliya, meaning it's still okay. It takes off the Shem Tuma. Molak b'sakin, if you did Malika with a sakin, Molak chulin b'fnim, you did Malika chulin b'fnim, the kotchem b'chutz, or you did Malika kotchem b'chutz, or Torah, they didn't reach the right time. We said, what was the rule? In this case, it would be Matama. Zeh klau. Kol she psula b'kodesh ain't a metama b'beis habliya. If the psul took place b'kodesh, it's not metama b'beis habliya. Lehoya psula b'kodesh metama b'beis habliya. Okay, that's your rule. So now, yeah,
the outside one that you shechted.
That's what you're supposed to do by chulin.
But it's chulin. It's chulin, right? So it's a problem. That's in the first case you brought in. You said you shechted it outside.
Two variable. If you shecht outside by chulin is great. If you shecht inside by chulin, it's not good. However, since shchita of an oif exists, right? We're going to see, since you learn from outside, inside also, it would be to the extent it would take off the tumah of the nevela. Good? Yeah. It would take off the tumah of the nevela. You should have done malika, but since you did shchita, it helps. It helps. That's what the Mishnah says. Okay, so now, Tan Rabbanan. Yachal, I might think, Tehei Malika Shulifnim Mitama Begodim Besabliya. Now, I might think that a Malika of Psul, it's a Malika of Psul, guys. Guys, this is Malika of Puzzle. So it's either a lefty or a nighttime. So you have Malika that's puzzle. I might think that it goes ahead. She lifnim. I might think mitamim begotten besabliya. I might think that it doesn't work. In other words, I might think das heißt kind malika, and therefore it's nevela and it's tamei. That's what. No, it's obviously it's not going to be. Okay, so I might think that wow, it's mitamim besabliya. Talmud Leimar, the pasuk says nevela. Now here's the pasuk. The pasuk says. Sabes v'chol nefesh asher toichel nevela utreifa be'ezrach ubeger. Now this is speaking about oif tahar, guys. This is speaking about an oif tahar, fellas. Just for edification, there is no nevela by a tummy dika bird, an eagle, a vulture. There is no tumas nevela. There is tumas nevela by a pig. There is tumas nevela by a camel. There is no tumas nevela by a non-kosher bird. By a kosher animal and a non-kosher animal, it's mitama b'magu b'masa. By an oftah, it's only mitama when you eat it, when you're inside you, and it's mitama b'godim. So we're saying now that if you do a malik psula, I might think that it's still tameh, that you didn't do anything. Now, what does the pasuk say about that? V'chol nefesh asher toichel nevela utreifa be'ezrach. So you're comparing nevela to treifa. That's important. You're going ahead and making, by oiftar, you're making a tzushtel between nevela and treifa. A treifa is some type of internal organ problem, or you can, that whether it's going to die or not going to die, you can never eat it. You can never eat it. Okay. We did learn that shchita, you shecht an animal, you find it to be a treifa, that it's no longer nevela. So you can't eat it, you can't matter it, but it could take off the nevela. It could take off the nevela. Now, what about an oif? What about an oif? So you're telling me the following. You're telling me the animal's kosher, but you went ahead and you did a malika, that's not kosher. Why? Because it either was zar or it was nighttime. So what's the din? Is that going to go ahead and take off the nevela or not? That's the Gemara's kasha. Says, I might think it takes off, I might think it doesn't take off the nevela. Therefore it says the word nevela. Fred the Gemara, what are you talking about? Nevela. Right, Tamalim nevela. Hanami nevela he. Fellas, Malik is nevela. The chiddush is, fellas, by chata sa'oif, that if you do it correctly, the guy could eat it, the kohen could eat it. You can't eat it. It's McDonald's. You can't eat it. The kohen can eat it. So what are you telling me nevela? For you, it's nevela. It says, Ela Tamalim treifa. Now, it said the word nevela, it said the word treifa. Somehow, fellas, the limud's going to be that I'm just going to use the one word lefty. A lefty's malika is going to go ahead and take care of the nevela problem some way, somehow, from this pasuk. Ma treifa, shema teresesa issa. A treifa cannot matter anything. If something's a treifa, it doesn't matter anything. Af kol shena ma teresesa issa. So too, anything that will be tamei has to be something that won't matter the issa. Yotza malika. This would exclude Malika. Shehi lifnim, the Malika inside by psul. Hoil v'himateres esa issa. Since it matters the issa, fellas, im olu lo yardu. If it goes up, it stays up. So, if guys, the Malika of a psul is going to the extent it takes off the issa that if it goes up, it stays up. And therefore, a metama begodim beis abliya. Good. Therefore, and it's not metama beis abliya. So, heavy hamoilik kachim bachutz. If you do malika kachim bachutz, moilik chulin bein bifnim bein bachutz. Hoil ve'imatirin esa issa metamim begodim beis abliya. They're going to go ahead since al ma'alu yardu de metama. So let's go through it, fellas. If you have malika of a zar puzzle, since it olu lo yardu, it's not going to be metama. Since it goes up, it stays up, it's not metama. I'll give you 3 cases where it comes down. What are the 3 cases where it comes down? Hamoylik kachim bachutz. You did malika outside. Outside, that's mamish like nevela. It's coming down. Moilik chulin. If you do malika on chulin, whether inside or outside, it doesn't. In all these cases, we're going to see later on in the Masechta, it goes up, it comes down. Memela fellas. Here's the rule of thumb. Since it doesn't matter le'inyan letting it go up to stay up, it's going to be metama. So in answer to our question, as we began the sugya, I might think that the zar who does a malika, or let's keep away from zar. I might think a psul, because that's machlokes by zar. I might think a puzzle that does. I might think a lefty. He does malika, or he does it at night. I might think that it's still tamei. Does it go up and stay up? Yes. Therefore, it's not similar to treifa. Then the similar to nevela treifa is the treifa tut garnish. The treifa doesn't do anything. Memela, the treifa doesn't do anything. That's the one where it will be tamei. That's the one will be tamei. Since the malika at night or lefty does something, what does it do? If it goes on the mizbeach, it stays on the mizbeach. Therefore, it will not be tamei. Masha Enkain, the malika of kachim bachutz. If it goes up, it comes down. Or malika of chulin, inside or outside, it goes up, it comes down. Therefore, then it'll be tamei. That's the first brisa. Good. Tanya idach. Now, this brisa is going to be speaking the three cases that are not tamei. These are the three cases that are not tamei. Yachal tehei shchitas oif chulin lifnim. Again, shechting chulin inside. V'kotchim, shechting kotchim, bein bifnim, bein bachutz. I might think mitama beisabliya. I might think that what? That the shechita doesn't do anything. That the shechita doesn't take off the shem nevela. I might, again, you're shechting a bird of chulin inside. So the only problem is it's inside. Or you're shechting kotchim. You're shechting kotchim, whether inside or outside. I might think it's tamei. Tamei loima nevela. Gemara says the same thing. Hanami nevela hi. Ella tamei loima treifa. Again, that comparison to treifa. Ma treifa shavyu bifnim kibachutz. Fellas, a treifa is a treifa wherever it is. A duck is a duck, right? A treifa is a treifa. If it's inside, it's a treifa. It's an outside a treifa. So in other words, the comparison of the treifa is going to teach us that these cases, in fact, are not tamei. They're going to teach us in fact, that these cases are not tamei. So how are we going to learn that out? Afkol shavyu bifnim kibachutz. Yotzer schitas chulin bifnim v'kotchim bein bifnim bein b'chutz. Hayav leishavu bifnim kibachutz. Ein mitama begodim abeis abliya. Since they're not equal, fellas, if you do shchita outside, is that good? Ostensibly, yeah. So it's never equal. It's never going to be equal. Shchita will help outside. Now, inside it doesn't. It works. Shchita is inside, is outside is good. Inside, it may not be good for certain animals, for a knife, because you're supposed to do malika, but it's not equal to a treifa. A treifa is not good here, not good over here. By here, in these cases, in all the cases we listed, there's a shaykhis to outside, inside, outside. Each one of these cases, right? If you look at Rashi. Yotzer hashaychit chulim bebifnim. Since they're not equal, well, come on, Farish Vazel, and we can explain as we go weiter. Okay, guys, let's see what we just said. A lot of hard words. We have a case of shchita inside of a bird, shchita of kachim inside, outside. I might think they're tamei. I learned from the nevela they're not tamei. Let's go through it. What are you learning from the nevela? Guys, look at me. Nevela is no good inside, nevela is no good outside. So too, these three cases are not similar to nevela. Once they're not similar to nevela, to treifa, once they're not similar to treifa, then they will be what? They won't be tamei. They won't be tamei. Again, what's the three cases? Shchita of chulin inside, shchita kachim inside, outside. Shchita kachim is in both places is bad, correct? You can't, inside you're supposed to do malika, shchita, outside, you're supposed to do, outside everything is no good, right? What's the problem with chulin? You're not supposed to bring chulin inside. You're supposed to shecht it outside, not inside. Good? Now, all those cases will end up being tahar. Why? Why won't they be mitama? Why would it be metama? Because it doesn't have. It's not similar to treifa. Because treifa, the same halacha inside outside. In all these three cases, they're different, and the Gemara is going to show the difference. Bishlei mechulin leishava mifnim kibvachutz. Bishlei mechulin is not equal inside to outside. Outside is shchita, inside is malika, right? Yes? Okay, chulin. Inside is what? Right? Outside you do outside right? You do shchita, inside you do malika. Good. Leishavim mifnim kibvachutz. Elakachim. Idi psulininu, because you're supposed to do what? Bein bifnim, bein bechutz. It's nevela, because there's no shchita. There's no shchita by kachim. There's only malika. So it doesn't make sense. Your rule of thumb, it's similar to treifa. It's usher in both places. Again, I have chulin. Shchita schulin inside. You know why it's moitzi midei nevela? Because you can shecht it outside. My two cases of shchita of kachim, there's no place it's mutter. Both cases you're supposed to do malika. So if your example is treifa, which then they should be tamei. It should be tamei because both kachim inside and outside you need malika, not shchita. The Gemara is going to answer something unique. If you do shchita outside on a bird, you chayiv shchutei chutz. We know there's a halach of shchutei chutz, you chayiv kares. Let's say you take an oilas oif or a chatas oif, and you do shchita outside. You be chayiv kares. Memela, what do you see? If he balta shchita is enough to mechayim is kares, das heißt shchita. If it's shchita chayiv kares, then it's not equal because inside's malika. So therefore, it might seem nevela. So geschmack. Our paradigm is treifa. Treifa is equal. It's a treifa here, it's a treifa here. By shechting chulin, it's not equal. Why? Because here's shchita, here's malika. You'll say by kachim, shchita, it's equal because it's malika. Outside, it's also shchita. Where do you see that? The fact that it goes ahead what? And it's metama. It's the fact that it creates a chi of karis. So if it's shchita linyan karis, then it's shchita outside and malika inside, and therefore it's not equal to treifa, and therefore it's not going to be metama. Let's see it inside. Elakachim idi psulim nenu, because he's supposed to know malika, not shchita. Amarava im ha'ilu lo shchita schutz l'chayve karis. If it helps the chiyuv of shechting outside l'chayve karis, like soiloi l'tayrim day nevela. In other words, shchita linyan that linyan taking off the shame nevela. It's a shchita. Good. Ashkin chutz. So you found outside, it's in the shchita outside, panim minalan. How do you know shchita inside is mitar mitay nevela? Again, we're dealing two cases, shchita inside, shchita outside. You tell me shchita outside because it's a shchita li'in karis, of shchita chutz. What about shchita inside? It's supposed to be malika. And for the Gemara, hayav le'shavid b'fnim kimim b'chutz. It's not daimel treifa, guys. It's not daimel treifa. So memela, the inside also would be mitar mitay nevela. Okay, so let's just chazariba what we saw so far. We wanted to know three cases in the Mishnah that we learned that it's metayim midei nevela. Shchita inside of a chulin, shchita inside of kachim, shchita outside of kachim. In all these three cases, it's going to take off the nevela problem, and if the person eats it, it's going to be tahar, linyan nevela. The Gemara wants to know where do you know that from? We know from treifa. It says nevela, it says treifa. So we're going to say that treifa is equal. Wherever it is, it's treifa. So too le'inyan being nevela. Guys, nevela means that's tamei. So too le'inyan nevela to metama, it's got to be equal to treifa. These three cases are not equal to treifa. Why not? Well, let's see. Shchita inside, that's a no-no, right? Shchita outside is a yes. Off the charts. Shchita inside a no-no. Shchita outside a no-no. 1 second, that's like treifa. No, it's not. Shchita outside takes off is chayv karis. If I'm chayv karis, then shchita it's considered shchita l'yikar. It's got to be shchita to the extent to take off nevela. Fred the Gemara, what about inside? Because that's what it helps the comparison to treifa. Once it's not equal, nevela I know inside as well. That's where we're holding. That's where we're holding. Fred the Gemara, ihachi. Mola kochim bachutz nami. If you do malika of kochim bachutz, that we said it is tamei. Malika kochim bachutz is tamei. Loi shavi b'fnim ki bachutz. It's not equal to the outside. Guys, watch. Look. It's always with me. It's always the fingers or the hands. You're telling me the following. You're telling me that when it's not equal, that it's tahar. Yeah. Malika outside of a kochim is tamei. But 1 second, it's not equal to inside, because malika inside of kachim is good. So it's not equal, it should be tahar. Using our rule of thumb, ihachi, that when it's not equal, because it's not like treifa, that it's tahar, memela what? That case also should be tahar. But you told me in that case it's not. Right? Good. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you the problem. Mola kochim b'chutz nami loyd loyshavi b'fnim b'chutz. Amrav Simi Barashi donin dava shaloi b'hechsheroi midava shaloi b'hechsheroi. I'll learn all b'di'eveds. Vein donin dava shaloi b'hechsheroi midava shevachsheroi. Guys, again, let's look at me. Chulin b'fnim, no good, right? Chulin outside is, well, it's Rashi asked the kasha. It's speaking about a treifa outside. Since it's a treifa, it's also b'di'evet. Malika shchita inside of kachim, shchita outside of kachim. That's when I'm going to apply the rule of equal of treifa. When it's always a b'di'evet situation. Over here, what are you learning out? Malika outside to Malika inside. Ain't done in dava shalei b'chsheroi. Malika inside the way it's supposed to go. All the other cases, it wasn't supposed to go. All the other cases, it was a no-no. Shechita inside, shechita outside. Shechita outside is a yes, no. It's speaking about a shechita of a treifa, Rashi says. So therefore, it's no good. So everything's a b'di'evet situation. Memela, you want to say, just like Malika inside works. Malika outside doesn't work, but it's not equal, therefore this should be tar, and it's not. And the answer is we can't learn this from this, because the whole rule of thumb of treifa is where it's b'di'evet situation. Over here, this is l'chatchila this situation. You're supposed to do malika inside. Therefore, done in davar shlei b'achsher mi davar shlei b'achsheroi, even done in davar shero mi davar shero. V'loi v'tanya minayin leyoitza shem alo leyered. How do you know if yoitza it goes up, right? So yoitza kasha bibama. So we see that right, kasha bibama. Yoitza is kasha b'bama, right? So you're learning something that's bechsheroi. Guys, look at me. Yoitza goes meat that goes out of the azara, goes in and goes up, yeah, stays up. Where you're learning it from? You're learning it from b'bama, because the bama there is no yoitza, because the whole world is open. But are you learning shalei bechsheroi mechsheroi? If you're telling me in your worlds of limud, I can't learn that malika outside from malika inside, because malika inside is a yes, then how can I learn out what? Yoitza from bama of yoitza, which was a yes. And the answer is you're really not learning from there. It's a remez. Says the Gemara, Tana azayis taris ha'oila riboy. He's learning yoitza from zayis taris ha'oila. We had this a few times. That's where he's learning it from. But not really, he's not learning it from this davar shebech sheroi. He's not learning from there, so it's nishkan kasha. Okay, yoitza midvareinu. We did the sugya of what? Of if what goes up stays up is the factor. If it goes up and stays up, it's going to be mitar midei nevela. If it goes up and comes down, it's not mitar midei nevela. Then it's still tamei. Okay. Molak v'nim shetreif. Okay, now a new sugya. Until now, we'll be dealing with a poor malika, but the animal was fine. In this case, you're going to be doing malika on a treifa. We're going to have a three machloikis, is malika mitar midei nevela or not? Just like shchita takes off nevela, does malika take off nevela or not? Meaning, if a treifa, it's not the kohen is not going to be able to eat this. It's a chatas chulin. The kohen will not be able to eat it, right? But yet it's a treifa. Is it tamei beis habliya? Does it take off the din tumah? Malak v'nimtzu treifa. Reb Meir oime einim etama beis habliya. It takes it. Says Reb Meir, it takes it off. Says Rameya takes it off. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda Amid Beis, Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion, Mitama, Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't take it off. Right? Let's see the top Rashi for a second. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mitama, the loy mahanya malika litrefa. It doesn't help. For who adinami the b'shchita schulin trefa pligi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't only argue, guys, by malika, he argues by shchita as well. That if you shecht an animal, find that it's a trefa, it's still going to be tameh. Okay. Amar Reb Meya, back in the Gemara, kal b'chomer. Guys, I have a kal b'chomer that malika will be mitar. Kal b'chomer. Im nevelis behema shemitamo b'magu b'masa shchitasa mitarasa treifasa mitumasa. I have an animal that it's so chomer that the nevela is mitama tumas maga and tumas masa. Yet, if you go ahead shecht it and you find it to be a treifa, it's tahar li'inyan tuma. Nevela sa'oif she'ena mitama b'magu b'masa eino din she'ete shchitasai mitarasai treifasa mitumasa. Okay, guys, first step. This apparently is a very good kal v'chaimer. It's a very good kal v'chaimer. Madach the mochamedik nevela, the mochadamik nevela. The shchita takes off the tumah of nevela. Oif, which has a more kaladik, a lenient dikatuma, because it's only mitam beis abliya. Einoi din is not a kal v'chaimer that shchita should take off the tumah. Okay, we didn't mention malika, guys. We just mentioned shchita. So, guys, is that a good kal v'chaimer? Great kal v'chaimer. Now the next step, amemet sinu. What's the purpose of shchita? To make it kosher for eating. So to malika makes it kosher for eating. And just like shchita takes off the nevela, so to malika takes off the nevela. That's the kal v'chaimer of Rabbi. That's the kal v'chaimer of Rabbi Meya. Next step to the kal v'chaimer. Right. Ma matzina b'shchitasai shimach sherasai la'achila. The shchita makes it kosher for achila. U'metarasai treifasai mitumasai, and it's mitar a treif from its tumah. Af malikasai, so to malika shimach sherasai b'achila. Titar treifasai midei tumasai. But guys, outside. Let's do it outside. Let's do it outside. We want to know, Rabbi Meya and Rabbi Yossi have machlokes. Does the act of malika take off the tumah of nevela? Says Rabbi Meya it does. Says Rabbi Yehuda it doesn't. Says Rabbi Meya kal v'chaimer. Madoch nevela of an animal, which is so chomer, it's metama b'maga. Shchita takes off the tumah of nevela. Oif, which the nevela is not so chomer, because it's not metama b'maga, only beis abliya, ain't idin that shchita should take it off. Now that doesn't help me at all, because I want to prove malika. So far you only dealt with shchita of oif. You didn't deal with malika at all. On that now the Gemara says, well, let's take it one more step. Just like shchita, the purpose is to machshir the meat, so to malika, the purpose is to machshir the meat. And just like shchita takes off the nevela, so to malika takes off the nevela. Now, we have a din in kal v'chaimer. Dayo minadin liyos kinadin. Something that you learn out of kal v'chaimer, right? Something you learn out of kal v'chaimer, the thing you learn it from, that's the extent you learn it. What are you learning it from? Right? You're learning shchita. It's dayoy shchita. Don't extend it to malika. Malika is not shchita. It's a different. I mean, it has commonality, but it's not shchita. Einachinami. You have a valid kal v'chaimer to shchita on my Reb Meya, but I disagree by malika. Says Rabbi Yossi Omer, dayoy k'nevelis behema shchitasa mitarasa v'lei malikasa. It's enough that the source you learn it from. You learn it from an animal that's shchita. Okay, comes out, guys. You have a 3-year machlokes. 3-year machlokes. Like Reb Meya, malika, and shchita both work. Like Reb Yehuda, neither works. Like Reb Yossi, shchita does work and malika doesn't work. Okay, the Gemara now is going to challenge Reb Meya. Doesn't Reb Meya hold of dayai? L'chayre dayai is a din Torah. L'chayre dayai is a din Torah. Where do you learn that dayai from? from the conversation that took place between Moshe and HaKadosh Baruch Hu regarding Miriam being a Mitzvah. What happened? Vayoyim Hashem al Moshe, v'avia yorek b'faneha. If she spit in her father's face, haloi tikolim shibas yamim, wouldn't she be put away for 7 days? Tisaga shibas yamim, michutz lamachne, v'yachat yosef. Right? Now, if you don't listen to your father, you get 7 days. If you don't listen to Hashem, you should get a lot more. We'll see exactly what that means. Remeya loydorish dayoi, v'yidayu deraisa. L'chayr is deraisa. Titania, mitin kal v'chaymer. Ketzad. Vayoyim Hashem al Moshe. Kadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead. Kadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead, and he comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And what does he say to Moshe? He says, "Vayoyim Hashem al Moshe. V'avia yorek b'faneha." Let's her father would go ahead and spit in her face. Wouldn't she be embarrassed for 7 days? Kal v'chaymer l'shchina abo asayim. Kal v'chaymer the shchina should be for 14 days. Okay. So what does the Gemara answer? Right? Ella dayoy love minute in lias kinadin, and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi has a pasuk. Okay, let's just deal with these 14 days. Where do you get 14 days from, guys? Where do you get 14 days from? Right? All of a sudden, 14 days. Look at Taisus. Kavchayim l'shchina, right? Ba'arba asayoyim. Omer Rabbeinu Tam did not get arba asayoyim mishum darmino perikam apeles nida. Shleisha shutfim ba'adam. There are 3 partners in the creation of man. HaKadosh Baruch Hu aviv imay. HaKadosh Baruch Hu noisen asara devarim keneged aviv imay, who also give 10 things. So guys, if the father and mother give 10 and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives 10, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving twice as much, because each one the parents giving 5 and 5, right? Pashit. So memela, therefore it makes sense. V'hashna minan dayoy kayaviv demina yalfinan. You're going to learn from the father, right? So 2 to 1. The father 7 days, Hashem is 14 days. That would be the limit for 14. Double the father, right? The father 7. If your father would spit in your face, it's 7. Okay. V'harav Chaim mefarish to minadinhu havilei mema kavachem l'shchina la'olam. The chamur kol kach. Really, the shchina should be forever. Elanakat yudalet connected shtei hiskaros. Le'metzinu yosa mishnei hiskaros. Mitzvah you put away 7 days, guys. And you can put away the second time for 7 days. You never put them away for a third time. The most you can put away mitzvah is 14 days. Memela, that's why it's 14. Okay. The bottom line is, l'chayra, you have a bomb kasha. You said you Reb Meir want to learn out from a kal v'chaymer that malika you're limited to shchita. So the Gemara is going to answer Reb Meir as a pasuk. Reb Meir learns it from a pasuk that what? That it's not learning from a kal v'chaymer. He's learning from a pasuk that the malika is mitar midei nevela by tumah. Okay, says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yossi Barav and Reb Meir kra ashkin v'kedarish. He found the pasuk and he darshened it. Okay, what was the pasuk that he found? Zois Torres habehema v'oif v'chol nefesh achaya haromeshes b'moyim v'chol nefesh asheretzes alo aretz. So he has a pasuk. Zois Torres habehema v'oif v'chi be'ezeh Torah shavzeh behema l'oif. In which way, guys, is behema equal to oif? In which way is behema equal to oif? V'chi be'ezeh Torah shavzeh behema l'oif v'oif lebehema. Behema mitama b'mago masa oif ena mitama b'mago masa. Oif mitama b'godim beis abliya, behema ena mitama b'godim beis abliya. Person will not be tame beis abliya. Elaloi melacha. What's the comparison between oif and behema? Elaloi melacha ma behema dava shemachshira la'achila mitar sheifasa mitumasa. Just like by behema, the action that's mitar from achila, the act of shchita, takes off treifa. Af oif dava shemachshira b'achila mitar sheifasa mitumasa. Okay, so too the act of malika, which is mitar midei shchita, takes off what? It takes off the din of tumah. So again, we have a comparison of what between oif to behema. Just like behema shchita is mitar the treifa midei tumasa, who had din the act of malika, which is mitar the oif for achila, ain't no din. It's not a din. It also not a din. It's a hekesh. Also any meshivin a hekesh. also takes off what the din of Tumah. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't. Rabbi Yehuda is exceedingly involved. So let's see what Rabbi Yehuda says. What does Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda, my timer. What's the reason that it does not take it off? Kro ashlich v'kedarish nevela treifa. I'm Rabbi Yehuda treifa lo menemra im treifa chaya. If a treifa lives, hari nevela. Guys, if a treifa is living and it dies, it's a nevela, so it's the same din. And im treifa chaya mura im treifa chaya hari nevela mura. Im treifa ein chaya hari hi b'chal nevela. Now, what happens if a treifa doesn't live? So it's b'chal nevela when it's alive. Guys, listen to this. This is double talk. If the treifa doesn't live, meaning the treifa is not going to survive more than 12 months, it's considered a nevela when it's alive. What, you'd eat a live animal, you mechayiv a nevela? So if you look at Taisvis, fellas, look at the last Taisvis on the page. Look up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines up. You see where Rav Chaim Mefarish? The last Taisvis. Look for the words Rav Chaim Mefarish. Like 8 lines up. You have it? Okay. For Rav Chaim Mefarish, the Hachi Kamar. Eat treifa ein a chaya, if treifa won't live, umayri bitolish mimenu basachai. You took off a piece of meat while it was still alive. Be'achlu, and you ate it. Harihi bechlal nevela. It's considered nevela. The basa aparish mimenu ki parish min amesa. Because the basa that leaves it, it's like parish from a mesa, umetama. Afagav shebehema atzmai eina metama. The fishi balchai. So in other words, just to teach the words of the Gemara, you're learning at Rabbi Yehuda from Treifa somehow that if you do a malika on an oif, and it's not going to be now, we're going to do it tomorrow, and I found it all on this itty bitty card. So we're in for it, and it's really going to be tomorrow. But just to start us off, he's saying you're learning from Treifa, and he's saying Mamanashach. If treifa is alive, then it dies, it's the nevela. If treifa does not live, then it's a living nevela. Meaning if Reb Chaim says if you take off a part of it and eat it, you'd be chayiv in nevela, despite the fact that it's alive. Ela lehebi treifa, what's the purpose of the word treifa? Ela lehebi treifa sheshchata shemitamasa. A treifa that goes through shchita is mitama. In other words, the word treifa teaches me my din, that if you do malika on a treifa, it's tameh. That's what the word treifa teaches me. It's a chumrah. Now, I'm going to stop here because the machinations are, like say the 10 steps, like there's 10 steps for being sober. This is 10 steps to drive you nuts. Okay, so Be'ez Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow. Okay.